Good day and welcome to a new video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe! Heyo today and welcome to another video. Today's stream we are joined by Nell Fallcard.
Hello!
Awesome, you can go check out her work at nell-f.com or DeviantArt as well, and you've got Instagram and all that other stuff, so Nell Fallcard. And she's an awesome freelance illustrator from Mexico, and she's been in quite a few videos as well. The last one was about 11 months ago, and we just kind of talked about texture and things like that. So yeah, it's been a wee while. What have you been up to for the last year?
Oh my, I have been done so many things. Basically, well, general illustration, concept art, covers for books, covers for musicians, albums from their records, and mainly I have been doing concept art for a company on Iceland. We are developing a video game that teaches, well, doesn't teach, more like helps children practice math. So in a fun way, so in a way, we all agree that when we were students, we used to hate math, not exactly because of the thing itself, but because it was a lot of repetition and it was so boring and we didn't see a point to it. So it's like, okay, maybe if we create a video game that makes it fun, then probably, it's kind of like hide broccoli inside of chips or something. So that's kind of like the idea. So yeah, I have been developing this game for 3 years now with the guys from Flow Education, and yeah, that's what I'm mostly doing most of my time, and getting freelance commissions here and there.
Well, that's great to hear. It's always great to hear from all your artists that I do talk to, a little bit further on and what you're doing and catching up and things like that. So it's cool that you're developing a game. You mentioned a little bit about math there. What brings back a memory, me kind of fighting the math teacher, saying I don't really, need to learn math.
Yeah, I know. The thing with math is that it is really useful to know it, but it's sneaky. I mean, that's the problem with the education system. They just say, okay, you need to do this and you need to solve this equation, and they are not clear about why you need to do it or what exactly, what's the practical application for it. So that's why a lot of people think it's useless. But I think having a fluency in math can help you with a lot of things. But that's the thing, it's not that obvious, and the school system is making an awful job on making it obvious.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, I was learning a lot of things like trigonometry and those kind of things, and it's like, well, I never have used them in my life, but they made us learn it. And starting out at first years of high school, I was the top of my math class. I was the top math class and everything like that. But as soon as trigonometry and all that stuff came, I was becoming the lowest maths class, because of all that. I didn't understand it. It was just really confusing. I didn't know why we were doing it as well. I wasn't interested in it because I didn't understand why we were learning it. I mean, I understand learning maths and numbers and everything like that. Times tables and things like that. Always very helpful to do those things. But just to know how much space is in a triangle doesn't,
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I still remember this math problem that haunts me up to today. I mean, it has been ages since I left school, and I still remember this problem. So that was in a calculus class where they put me this case scenario where I had a water tank, and they were like, okay, you have this water tank, it has this shape, and it has a valve that is open, so it's draining water. But at the same time, you have another valve up above that is filling it water with. So basically, you needed to know. Well, the problem was like, okay, how much water this is going to have, 5 minutes into the time. How many liters is going to be in the tank? And you had to do a lot of, I don't know, like an integral or something like that. And I was like, okay, I can see why this particular type of math applies to that, but when am I going to be in a situation where I need to know how much water is going to be 5 minutes into certain time for a specific tank of a specific shape, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's okay. I can see the application, but it's way too specific an application that I probably never going to encounter a situation like that, you know. so, so yeah, and I couldn't solve it. I mean, yeah, I was such a nerd back in the day, and I used to solve most of my math problems even when I hated it. But that one I wasn't able to solve it, and it still haunts me up to today. So yeah. Math is fun, yay!
Yeah, it's one of those things that you either love or hate. And back at school, the most thing we were doing maths for was getting the high grades, the A plus and all that stuff. Is why we were kind of doing all these technical math problems.
Oh yeah, these were the grades, and yeah, I was actually Pavlovian trained for that because when I was a child, my parents used to kind of like give me rewards if I bring home high notes. So yeah, I kind of became like, they trained me like a puppy, you know. So yeah, it got a habit. But then yeah, when I entered university, that I didn't have that positive reinforcement, then I realized that it was not really that necessary to be an A plus student.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't really get that from my parents. I didn't have like rewards for getting A, or if you get so many A's you'll get this, blah blah blah. I didn't get all that. They were more worried about other things, like learning to share with my sisters, and all those other kind of moral things. With the grades, they were more worried about me actually enjoying school and actually turning up, and they were more worried about that kind of thing rather than getting the grades. I mean, they were a little bit worried if they had to be, but they wouldn't have to worry about me because I usually heads down, get what I need to get done. Occasionally I would like talk and have a bit of a social life there, but most of the time I was pretty much a heads down student. And that goes into my life today. I'm always heads down doing the work I need to do.
Yeah, I think that's better. Yeah, in my case, both of my parents are teachers, so yeah, they place a lot of importance to grades back in the day. I think they still do. I mean, they no longer work; they are retired now. So, but yeah, I mean, when you're, I don't know, is part of your profession, I guess you can like add certain value to it, and the other things too, but that kind of like didn't rub off as much. So yeah, that was the thing.
Awesome.
Are there more artists in your family?
No, not really. There's the only one I know of is my auntie, and she does like, she used to do heaps of like nude paintings and things, like erotic kind of things, and sell them online. And now she does a lot of like landscapes and things, and sells some of those. I'm not sure how much, but she kind of just paints sometimes. I don't know if she's still doing it, but she used to do that. That's the only kind of artist I know in my family. There's also another one, I don't know how she's related, but she was I call her oh well, my sister calls her Nana Lois. Um, and she is quite good at drawing and creating as well. She does it all by hand though. It's all I think it's all painted work mostly, and she's another kind of artist in my family, and yeah, it's quite cool. She always, I'd see her every 4 or 5 months or something. I'd see her. I haven't seen her in like ages or heard about her. She lives out like in the country, so she doesn't have a lot of communication. But yeah, she always like encouraged me to do art. She gave me, like, I've got one of the books. I can't remember his name, but that really awesome. I think it's Andrew Lewis. I think.
Oh, Andrew Loomis,
Yeah,
probably.
that's the one, Andrew Loomis. One
Oh,
of
he's
the
amazing.
She gave that one to my sister, but my sister was she was into art, um, but she was really into art at the beginning, and then she kind of gave up, um, and yeah, I eventually took that book from her, um, and it's been awesome to have that book. She's always given me, like, she gave me the art of book of Avatar as well,
Mm.
which was really cool to flick through and just kind of see how that side of things was made, especially at an early age, at like, I think it was about 14, 15ish.
Mm.
Getting a book like that, the Avatar, really showed me that this thing can be something to do. You
Hmm.
can sustain drawing and illustrating and creating and things like that. Um,
Oh yeah, and there's a method to it.
yeah.
Also, because that was quite a discovery for me, to know that it was a method. Because when I started, it kind of like, it's you're gonna just draw and you have a canvas and just guide yourself. It's like get inspired, get the muse, and to work and stuff like that. And I really didn't until I bumped into Andrew Loomis stuff. Actually, I didn't really realize that you could actually put technique to it, and that
Mm.
there were several rules that you had to apply, and as long as you apply it, you are going to be on the other side. I didn't know that. I always was trial and error, and oh boy, I wasted so many years on trial and error. You have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, that happens.
I mean, I think I started out more to be like, I can draw this. Look at what I drawed. Um, you know, and yeah, getting that satisfaction that I could actually draw what I see in front of me. And these days it's grown so much now. I'm like more concerned about trying to get the feeling and the character and the pose right, and yeah, putting in that little bit more.
Oh yeah. Hey, are you a little bit worried about the future? I mean, the future of our craft in a sense, with all the artificial intelligence thingy coming on that apparently is attacking digital art now. Did you know about this?
Yeah, I've seen some of that. Where the AI thingies are creating art and illustrations, characters, and things like that. Um, it could be concerning a little bit, but I think that it.
We still got some room, a couple of years to still do our thing
Yeah,
before they catch up.
a couple years because before it comes real concerning. But even then, why do we have all these different artists that get hired by different studios? It's I think the AI might create something in a certain style or a way, whereas every person has a different way of approaching. Whereas an AI might approach it in the same way every time. So human,
Mm.
we're going to approach it in different ways. A different character, we're going to paint it differently. Um,
I'm not exactly sure though, because it's, oh, by the way, I'm sorry for the dog. It's
It's
not
alright.
my dog. It's a neighbor's dog,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's a little bit loud. I mean, I no longer hear it. To me, it's like his background noise by now, but
yeah,
yeah, he
yeah.
tends to be a little bit loud. So sorry about that.
It's alright.
Um, and well, coming back to artificial intelligence, well, I don't know. I checked a paper on how more or less it works, and it actually freaked me out because that thing is not exactly thinking, obviously, because it's not alive, neither conscious,
Mm,
but is something very close to thinking. I mean,
mm,
um, I saw a paper of one of the tasks that they gave to this artificial intelligence. So they had a mechanical arm, and basically what they told it to do was to move a cube that was over a table.
mm,
The only thing that I had to do is to move that mechanical arm, pick the cube, move it, and that was it. But here's the thing: it was not allowed. Was a neural network. It was not. They were not programming the movement. They were not programming. Okay, this arm is going to move this degrees, and then it's going to go down so many degrees, and then it's going to clasp, and then it's going to move. That was forbidden. What they do was to tell the neural network, okay, here's a bunch of videos of machines doing stuff.
mm,
Some of them are drills, some of them are excavators, some of them are, you name it. It's just a bunch of machines, videos of machines doing stuff. And then it was like, okay, and here is a lot of videos of things moving, getting moved. And you, machine, are going to learn without knowing anything about this world. You're going to learn how to move this cube by watching all these videos. We are not going to program how to move it. You are going to deduct how to do it from all this footage. And here's the interesting thing. When it finally ended up having this process where it learned how to move the thing, instead of just picking and grab it and move it like most of us will do, if you tell me move this to the left, that's what I will do. I will take my hand, grab it, move it, and that's it. What the machine did instead was, okay, you have your arm, your robotic arm, and you have your cube, right? So what it did was to snap the arm at high velocity to a corner of the cube in a way that the cube kind of like it hit the cube in a way the cube flew up, and then it made a movement in a way that the cube, when it fell into the hand, and then the hand rotated 180 degrees and sent the cube rotating in a way that it landed at the spot they wanted to move it, you know?
mm.
So it solved the problem, but it solved the problem in its own way.
Mm.
And that's goddamn scary. I don't know if, because it's like, it's doing the thing, it's just not doing it in a way you will conceive as a human being to do it.
Mm.
So that's a scary thing. So I don't know. It gives me chills. I don't know what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's always, yeah, it's interesting to see that kind of thing and see it do that. I mean, I'm always like, I see some sort of these AI things every now and again. So I might have to give that one a watch.
Yeah, I
um,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
for me, I'm not worried as much.
It's like
um,
something that is out there in the future, and we don't really know how it's going to develop. So what's the use to worry about it?
hmm. We might be seeing AIs in studios, just like, casually coming to meetings and.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be a human. It's going to be a.
It'll be, yeah. I don't know. It could go anywhere, but I mean, it's the future, so.
Yeah, so we will cross that bridge when we arrive there, I guess. Yeah, it's funky. It's funky stuff. I was trying another application that is called Breather. I don't know if you have heard about it.
No.
Yeah, it's also an artificial intelligence. This one is this is for graphic designers. Basically, what you do is to mix a bunch of images and create a random thing.
Okay.
So
yeah.
that can help you to come across with the new, with new images, and some of them look really artisty.
Hmm.
I've seen some concept artists that are already incorporating this into their workflow with quite interesting results.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I found interesting was that do you know Zdzisław Beksinski?
Not sure. What? Sorry.
Is a
Polish.
Zdzisław Beksinski is a Polish artist.
Okay. Yeah.
He does like horror surrealism. He's my favorite artist ever. I mean, there is something about his paintings that, I don't know, it kind of like grabs you. It's supposed to horrify you, but it is more fascinating than horrifying, really. I mean, he's really, really good. And when I found interesting about this Gang Reader artificial intelligence app was that many of the results that were coming up with this random mixing of images looked a lot like the works of this guy, of this Beksinski guy.
Yeah.
And I was freaked out because I was like, okay, to my understanding before this, he was a genius. And how come the artificial intelligence came to that result before coming to the result to something that I will make, or something that you will make, or something that, I don't know, like any person on ArtStation or on DeviantArt will make? Why, it's like the random results had more to do with what that guy did than what most of artists do. So sorry about it.
It's alright.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's similar to what we used to call a matrix, which is basically you grab a few items, like say a dog, a rabbit, and a lion on one side, and then on the top side you would put say human, fruit, and coffee or something like that, and then you'd like rule lines so that you have to mix cat and coffee, then you have to mix cat and fruit, and you get all these like different combinations, and yeah, you just keep going through that whole thing, and you keep adding things, so you're doing it random as well, because you go through a different list. It's a big grid basically that has a top side and a left side that you mix things in, and you can also as well put a left side with items and a bottom side if you are really keen, and you can get all these combinations of things that you mix together. So you could be mixing a dog and coffee together, or you could be mixing a dog, coffee, and fruit together to create something. We used to do it for logo creation. We would basically make a list of words, and then we go into the matrix with items that associate with those words. So if you're creating a coffee shop, you'd probably want to trial things like coffee beans, one of those percolator makers, coffee maker machine things, those fancy coffee, flavor things that you pop into them, all those, and mix them all together.
Yeah, that's basically what Gang Reader is. So you already had tried this software before?
No, this was all like what we called matrix. So we just basically did it with pencil and paper. Um,
Mhm.
we would put the items, rule lines into the grid, and put the things on top as well.
Oh, so you did it manually.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, it's a manual version of kind of what he was doing in a way, but
Mhm.
obviously they were doing it in a different way. But it's the same kind of thing that we were learning. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and it's great to do because you can come up with all sorts of original ideas. Mixing these things.
Oh yeah.
And some of them might look really bad as well because mixing a fruit and a cat might look really really odd.
Oh yes, I heard. Yeah, I got a huge folder. I mean, when I knew about this application, I spent like 3 hours just playing around with the combinations, and I was saving every combination that I liked. And I actually made a couple of paintings based on those combinations soon into my Instagram account and maybe everywhere else. Let's see. And yeah, I'll show you. Because yeah, it's interesting, and apparently they are opening Art Breeder, which is like an art version of that. Only the only source images are going to be artworks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that is going to be fun. We will see.
Like, it'll be interesting to see something like an old Renaissance painting or something, kind of like Mona Lisa or something, and mix it with an interesting new artist in the gaming
Style.
industry or something, and just mixing those two together to see what you get. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that will be cool. Hmm.
Awesome.
I'm a little bit disconnected about the whole video game thingy. I mean, I only know about titles because, well, kind of everybody's talking about it, but I have distanced myself to it. Have you heard about the new Cyberpunk game?
Yes, that's Keanu Reeves.
Oh yes, Keanu Reeves is in there, of course. Yeah, but the whole universe looks really, really nice, and I think it's a little bit fresh in terms of what we usually see, and as artwork or as as overall design, I guess. So yeah, that one looks nice, and the Death Stranding one as well. We'll see.
Awesome. Yeah, the way they revealed it. They had like Keanu Reeves on stage, and then they showed them that. It was really cool actually. So it's nice to see that kind of thing. I get a little bit inspired by it too. I mean, I'm doing a totally different thing, but just seeing some of these games come out, some of the designs of, not necessarily Cyberpunk, but there's some games like Monster Hunter. I really like looking at the creatures they've come up with, all the designs of those. Those are really awesome. I mean, I'd love to do that kind of thing. Painting kind of dragon-like creatures.
There are a lot of them. Dragons.
Yeah, they're very interesting creatures. And it's like, well, would I ever come up with something like that? I'm like, oh, maybe. I quite like a few things though. I like, children's stuff, but I do like, drawing dragons and creatures. Yeah, it's interesting where kind of inspiration comes from as well. It doesn't just come from, what you're creating, whether it's, games, illustrations. It also comes from other places as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I think the cool thing about dragons as well is that they can be therapeutic when you arrive to the scales part. I don't know what if you took like if you use hacks for it or if you paint scale by scale. What do you do?
For me, it's I've always been like scale by scale. It's just that that's the way
It,
of kind of traditional, but um,
it is therapeutic, isn't it? I mean, just painting skills, for an afternoon, listening to
mm,
music, chilling, you know. Yeah, because it's relaxing. It's kind
mm,
of like it's repetitive, but it's relaxing at the same time.
yeah. But I mean, I've seen like videos where some of the artists they quickly paint it and then they add a few highlights and it looks like, what may have taken me 30 hours to do, and it looks the same result as someone doing it within like 2 hours of painting these scales. It just looks like perfect, amazing scales, and that's awesome to see too, because I like to, they're really, processing in their head what each mark is, and that's like me with this grass scene that I'm painting. I painted a lot of grass scenes. I'm kind of trying to develop that too. I'm trying to develop me not doing every piece of grass, actually like thinking about it, making the direction, and just doing what they do with the couple of highlights to make it really pop um, and
Oh
actually
yeah, that's.
still
Mm.
look realistic, but doesn't take me like 20 hours to do or something. Um,
Yeah, I think it's a mindset. You need to start thinking about in terms of shapes, like groups of shapes rather
mm,
than the forms that you're painting. So yeah, it's tricky because you need to, of course, you need to think three-dimensionally because you need to think about how your shape is going to bend and where the light is coming from and everything like that. But at the same time, you also need to think about the silhouette
mm,
and and you need to avoid to, yeah, especially when you have like a lot of small elements, is not thinking about the element, it's more thinking about the lights and the shadows that you're going to depict in the over the canvas. And yeah, you need to switch back and forth between 2D thinking and 3D thinking, and that that's fun.
mm.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
tricky. It took me almost 3 years since I learned that you had to do this
Mm.
to kind of, and I'm not nearly near. I'm not even closer to say that I'm mastering it because
Yeah.
I still make a lot of mistakes. But yes, yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta learn from those mistakes. I mean, I'm sure all these artists they only take 2 hours to do some grass texture or something like that. Have taken all that time to get to that point.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you this the last time we spoke because it has been a long time since I took this course. I don't know, Craig Mullins?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he was the one who told me that I had to do that. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
He got a pretty neat course on schoolism now.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's I mean, you just pay your subscription, which is insanely cheap for the quality of the knowledge that you get from there.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, highly recommended. I think he got over it on that course.
Yeah. I'm
So
having I'm
yeah.
having trouble now because I've nearly finished the Daniel Ariega course on
Which one?
the Daniel Ariega on character design.
Oh, I see.
He's an awesome artist. He's worked on like Disney films. Um,
Mm,
he's worked on Up. Some of, but he didn't
mhm,
exactly do the character designs for that. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. And
mhm.
yeah, he's an awesome artist to listen, and he has interesting tips. I'm not exactly like copying or doing much of the exercises, but I am like bringing them into the work I am doing. So
Mhm.
the character, the lessons that he's learning, I'm definitely applying them to all these pieces that I keep on creating. Um, it may be very subtle, like doing character design and things like that, but it's really helpful. And yeah, now I'm like, what do I do now? Do I learn a little bit about digital painting? Like there's digital painting with a few artists in there, and then there's a new course that's just come out called um, story illustrations, which is just something I really really want to do as well. Um,
Mm.
and same with light and color. There's a light and color course. All those things I want to learn. So it's really challenging being like, I want to do this course, I want to do that course. I want to do them all. But I can't. One day I might have the time to actually do them all.
I know, and you know what? One of the things of doing courses as well is that okay, you finish your course, you get your new knowledge, you get to apply it, and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, I learned something new today.
Hmm.
And then a week later, if you don't practice, you get back to your old habits and all this new stuff that you learned that you can like it kind of like fades away. So you need to keep on reinforcing it. I've noticed that with my own art. It's I don't know.
Hmm.
You really need to reinforce in order for it to stick.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It takes time. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, we spoke about 11 months ago. I mean, this is a piece that I've just come back and edited it from about that time.
Mhm.
About 10 months-ish, I think, is the last time I visited this piece that I'm creating. So it's interesting to look back and be like, what was I thinking? You know, some of it I do think that maybe it was time. At that time I was just trying to get a video out. Just trying to get it created and done, and I always knew that I would come back and edit it later. So there was that too. I was like, oh, do I really need to, finish this all off and things. And the other side of it is also that I didn't have the solution for the problem yet.
Hmm.
The grass was all like white where the light was shining. I didn't really pay attention to how the grass actually reacts with light at night time.
Mhm.
I was more focused on trying to create a happy, colourful piece than I was to try and make it look good. you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mindset that can be very damaging. I mean, I have been in that mindset too, especially when you are participating in this sort of seasonal movements like Inktober or like Mermaid. I don't know if you do that, but by example, in October, that you have a theme every day, and it's kind of like a marathon where you have to post a new painting on traditional inks
mm,
every day of October. Uh, Obviously, you start all pumped up and with all the adrenaline rush, and yes, I'm going to keep up with the challenge. By the third, fourth day, you're already burned out, and you just want to finish and get done with it.
mm,
And that's very detrimental for the art because since you are already tired and sick and burnt out, the quality of the thing that you're putting up obviously is not good because you only want to get done with it. And yeah, you are putting your attention in the wrong place. You're putting all the attention in the completion, not exactly in the quality.
mm.
And well, that's a disservice to everyone, especially to your own art. So yeah, probably. And sometimes it is hard to get out of this mentality mindset of producing,
Mm.
when you have to put quantity above quality out there.
Mm.
Yes, yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to break the loop. Very hard,
It's
but
always
you
a
have
challenging thing because,
to.
I mean, for me, I've got to keep on doing this YouTube to have a video. So that's a thing that's changed in the last like 11 months as well. Is now I'm doing 2 weekly videos. So I've got my weekly tips, and then I've got these chats that I have, whether it's with myself or with an artist that I have in. Um, so there's one thing that has changed, and keeping up with that is always a challenge, for the past few weeks I've just been able to keep it up. But now I'm slowly getting a little bit ahead again, um, which is always good. It means like
Yeah.
if something happens one weekend, I can edit a video together pretty nicely, and it will be there and ready by the weekend, so I don't miss out on any content or anything like that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, the best is when you are in the flow, you're in the zone. You want to create, and you have the energy, and you have the motivation, and you have the spirit, and you just can't do it. So without worrying that you have to put something over there, or that it has to be seen, or that they have to. It's like you just trust in your idea, and you just jump into it and give your best. And ironically, those are the things that attract the most.
hmm.
So I think there is an element of authenticity on those projects that it can pass on, and the people who see those projects can recognize that authenticity, and that is very charming, I think.
Yeah, definitely authenticity. Hard word to say. But yeah, that telling the truth with your art. I think for me that gets me through Inktober, because that's a thing I do every year, and I find that really helpful because I use that month um, to challenge something to improve on. Like last year, I did humans. Um, because I've always been struggling with drawing humans, so I kept on drawing humans just straight out of my head with no reference. Um, and the year before that, I was doing dragons because I wanted to um, create something fantasy out of my head, without using reference. That was something that I was tackling because at that time I was still struggling with just copying for reference versus actually creating something unique and interesting. Um, and this year I'm looking at doing creatures because I feel like I should, strengthen my strong points per se. Sharpen that knife a little bit this year, and see what I come up with. I think that's what gets me through Inktober, is not like worrying too much that I'm going to be creating the most best piece today, the most best piece on the second day, and the most best piece on the third day, and keep that going. I'm just worrying about, getting a piece out there, getting something I've created out there in ink that helps me improve in some way and form. And that's kind of
I think Inktober is also a great exercise for discipline.
yeah.
So yeah, if you have trouble sticking to a routine, or sticking to, to self regulation in terms of schedule, that's a great exercise. It's like, I'm going to commit to finishing Inktober, and yeah, I mean, if you do it, is practicing in that specific area, which is good. It's great.
Awesome. Anything else you'd like to add or say?
Nope. We of the 45-minute mark already.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
It's been great. I mean, there's been some awesome topics there. I mean, I think
Yeah, it was fun.
yeah, it's always fun. For me, I enjoy just chatting, making art buddies and friends. Seeing either what artists I have talked to before, what they're up to, or just chatting with new artists to get new insights of what they're doing, and yeah, it's always helpful.
Indeed, it is.
And
It also sparks your imagination, and sometimes it gives you new ideas as well.
yeah, and same, hopefully for my audience as well. They enjoy finding these artists, yeah, and just learning from our journeys and things like that. So
Oh yeah. It's always very exciting. I'm a huge podcast consumer as well. I love to hear people talk while I'm painting.
Awesome. And yeah, you yourself have a little YouTube channel, which is awesome. You guys can all go check that out as well. You can go see it work at nellfallcard.com. Yeah, it's been great. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed this, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Bye.